Episode 2 of Season 4, Tales from the Darkside, Mary Mary, written by, you know who, it's Joel Selbo, my favorite writer of all time. And this is where Tales from the Darkside goes meta. Usually in Joel Selbo episodes, there's a large family who are yelling and screaming and doing chores, and then there will usually be some type of plot. Whether it's something like the shrine, where there's a ghost girl upstairs, I Can't Help Saying Goodbye, where a young girl waves to people and they die, Bitterest Pill. That one didn't exactly have a plot, but at the end they do take a pill that makes you remember things. But as I said before, Mary Mary goes meta. There is no plot here, and it's done on purpose, so we'll try to see what they're getting at on this episode. It's a one-room location, and not only that, it features one person, Mary Jones, for the entire episode. She goes to a VHS dating service, so you see another guy there, and then you see a neighbor across the hall, but this is 95% Mary going crazy in her apartment. Well, she's not necessarily going crazy, I don't know what she's doing. She's doing nothing. Nothing happens this episode. She plays with her dolls, she combs her hair, she drinks a beer, she talks to herself, she has a stuffed animal, she makes the stuffed animal drink a beer. That should be illegal. And she's a professional photographer. So what they're going for here is they're making it clear that she's a recluse. But I don't think this exactly works, not only because she has a bright personality, not that the Joel Selbo jokes land at all. But you would think a recluse would be someone who would be depressed, who wouldn't really want to talk to people, who wouldn't necessarily have a lot of energy when they're at home. At least that's the vibe I'm getting. But she's a photographer, and she actually starts the episode explaining that she just was photographing these 6 gorgeous models. So she's interacting with people out in public, but then when she gets home, she gets scared to interact with people like her neighbor, and this online dating service doesn't really go anywhere. Did I say online? Jesus Christ. VHS dating service. This is the 1980s. I filmed myself playing basketball on VHS. Then I send it over to you, and you film yourself playing tennis, and then you send it back to me, and then I film myself doing something else. I think that's how it works. And Mary Jones begins to be obsessed with this mannequin. She has a little studio set up in her apartment for her photography. Mary Jones is played by Margaret Whitten, who is in both Major League movies as Rachel Phelps. And she has an impossible task here. I've seen interviews with actors where they say that acting by yourself is the most difficult thing to do. Tom Hanks pulled it off in Castaway. Well, he had a volleyball named Wilson to play with, but we have no one to bounce anything off of. You're just spouting dialogue to yourself and trying to make that entertaining. And Mary Mary is terrible. Joel Selbo herself this time. She went full Joel Selbo. So we see her descent into, well, I think it's supposed to be her descent into madness, but it's more her descent into doing more chores around the apartment, talking to herself. She wants to go out with her neighbor David, who I have to say is quite persistent. In fact, he does something super creepy at the end. Maybe he's the real villain. And he's asking her on dates. He wants her to go to this baseball game with her. He's calling her. She wants to go, but the mannequin tells her no. So we do see that the mannequin talks. Really, it's Mary herself doing the voice of the mannequin. And if you remember, we had a mannequin episode a few episodes back. In fact, it was episode 17 of season 2. Everyone Needs a Little Love, and that one did it right. Where not only was it darker, but we see the mannequin move. We see it go in different directions. We see it actually kill someone at the end. It actually looks scary. Something. That does not happen in here. This episode is brightly lit the entire time. And whatever point they're trying to make that Mary doesn't think she's good enough for this guy and really wants to be beautiful like the mannequin is wasted. And this only happens really at the end. It doesn't move, doesn't really have a sinister voice. It just tells her not to go on a date with this guy. And then him, being a little creepy, decides to just pick her up and take her to this baseball game. Don't do this, guys. This is a bad idea. So he goes into her apartment. He's never gone on a date with her or talked to her before. He just barges into her apartment and says he's going to pick her up and take her to the game. So he comes into the apartment, creeps around, trying to find her, to ask her on a date in her apartment. That's a breaking and entering there, buddy. So after him breaking into her apartment, we get the reveal that Mary herself has turned in a tribute to Psycho into the mannequin herself. That's it. Mary is a waste of 22 minutes. It seems like it's the start of what would be a movie. Maybe you could start a movie with a girl being a recluse. Sometimes the first 30 minutes of a horror movie can be kind of boring, so they're trying to build up the characters, but nothing happens here. She talks to a mannequin briefly, then turns into one, and then does chores around the house. What do I even give this? I think a 2. I'm sparing Mary Mary from the dreaded 1, but it's going to get a 2 out of 10. There's nothing to see here. Nothing at all. Let's see if the people on the internet.com agree with me. Will I be able to find a positive review? That's not Woody Anders. Let me see. A short and brief positive episode, 5 out of 10. Not an especially thrilling episode. I basically just watched 20 minutes in the life of a deeply unwell woman. She seemed to be having kind of a lot of fun with herself, to be honest. She did have her stuffed animal drink beer. I get what they're going for with the ending, though. Her social anxiety made her so alienated from the world that she was literally locked up inside herself. She became a mannequin. Alright, well, this is quite a long one. 3 out of 10 dull Tales from the Darkside episode. Let's zoom into a certain part. Episode 2 from Season 4. This Tales from the Darkside story originally aired in the US during October 1987. What a great year. Directed by Katarina Wojciak. One has to say that after a reasonable, if unspectacular, horror-themed opener to the 4th season with Beatles, things take a nosedive with a seemingly pointless Mary. Good description. Why didn't I say that? Pointless. Yeah, this episode is pointless. The script by She Who Shall Not Be Named takes a relatively simple premise of a split personality, like that scene in Psycho. Yeah, I think the ending was trying to be like Psycho. Wow, did it fail. Which in itself has possibilities, but doesn't do anything with the ideas and the story. Goes nowhere, ending on a strange twist which is at odds with the rest of the episode. It just feels out of place slightly. I have to say, I really didn't like this one at all. Yeah, it would have made more sense if he came into the apartment and she was going crazy and like a mannequin. And she's like, I'm a mannequin, look at me, I'm pretty. She had like a crazy wig on and like, then it'd be like, oh, she's going crazy. She now thinks she's a mannequin. But no, she literally turns into a mannequin. Okay. At least we got to see her clean her cameras in real time. Next up is a ghostly episode. On our journey to review every single episode of Tales from the Darkside. We only have, 16 left? The Spirit Photographer, where, like the great but confusing games Fatal Frame, you can take pictures of ghosts and they disappear. This is an inspiration for Fatal Frame? Are they still making those? The second one scared me. And check out our playlist for all episodes of the other series we've covered, Monsters, Fear Itself, Black Mirror, obviously Tales from the Darkside, Mystery Science Theater 3000, Cowboy Bebop, Pet Shop of Horse. Thanks a lot.